and I see that today is the day to make the decision on Naked Wines. And you wouldn't believe how differently I thought about the company now. Hey everyone, so I tried a little trick on myself to see whether I would make a better decision, and it worked. This one thing that I did was rescheduling a decision for 1 month's time. That's it, and it has already made a remarkable difference to my decision making. Let me explain exactly the situation and what the results were. I think you will be surprised how simple yet effective this is. Alright, payeheli. So I guess this could work with any important decision you have, but for me, I used it with my investing. So I was looking into a company, and the company is Naked Wines. I did an analysis here in my channel as well, and had honestly done a lot of work on it. I read write-ups from other people, I discussed it with some of my investing friends, and I was very close to entering a position because the price had reached the price I was willing to start a position. Plus, a great investor in Norbert Liu had invested in this company as well, giving me a lot more conviction. So there were a lot of things pushing me to make this investment. I was all pumped up and was working out how big a position I was going to take. But before I actually made the purchase, I decided to stop myself and just thought that maybe this is a little emotional. I mean, had I really thought about this enough? Well, I had thought about it, I think, but maybe I should give it a bit of time to just sit in my brain. Now, something I was doing at the time was I was writing down all my weaknesses. And look, you know what? I wasn't going to share this with you, but I'm not ashamed of my weaknesses, plus maybe if I say them out loud, I will make more improvements. So my weaknesses are, number one, I'm too trusting and I like people quickly, which means I'm vulnerable to cons and scams. If I find something relatable about another person, or that person says something that I might say, for example, if I meet a girl and she says that she doesn't like fancy sports cars because they are impractical and stupid, well, I would trust this person and like this person far more than I should at such an early stage. Because if I can relate to someone, then I'm a little bit vulnerable to them. So I can fall prey to an optimistic sales pitch, because if they sound logical and say something that I would agree with or would also think, then I'm vulnerable to trusting the next thing they say. Now, another thing I've caught myself recently thinking is that diversification is for idiots. And the reason I think that is because Mark Cuban said so. The investors that I look up to generally only have a few big bets. I understand that logic, and I am influenced by this, but I'm not as smart as these guys. I should diversify just a little more to be safer. And when I think about it, even the best investors are going to be wrong like a third of the time. So 3 out of my 10 investments are at least going to be wrong. And I think with a little more diversification, it feels more comfortable for me. Not because it is right or wrong. I don't think anyone knows. It just has to feel right for me. I think 10 to 20 companies is about the right comfort level for me. And look, I have more weaknesses, but look, I'll stop there. I'm trying to explain the results of my little trick that helped me make better decisions. Anyway, because I had just spent a day or two thinking about my weaknesses, I realized that I can be too easily persuaded by a good logical sales pitch. And Naked Wines was about to be another one. So I stopped myself and decided that I would put it in my calendar to make a decision in a month's time. If I was still enthusiastic about the investment and there was still nothing better to invest in, then I should just go for it. So that was the trick. I scheduled it in my calendar and essentially forgot about it. A month later came around and I see that today is the day to make the decision on Naked Wines. And you wouldn't believe how differently I thought about the company now. So not only had I lost my enthusiasm, I actually didn't think the business was anywhere near as good as I first thought. I mean, an online wine club is a cool idea and it's fun, but do I really think this is going to be a huge business? I tried to get my head around their total addressable market, and I just think it's not as big as the company thinks it's going to be. Look, maybe it will do really well, but I just don't think it's that good of a company or a concept anymore. Shipping wine is always just going to be a pain in the butt. It's heavy, it's fragile, it's got big volume. I was just not that into the business as much as the people who pitched me the idea, and not as into it as Norbert Liu. Just like if I meet a girl and at the first she says that she hates those fancy sports cars, well, I like her a lot already, and I probably should marry her. But after a month, I think about it a little more, and she actually is kind of boring, and I don't think a long-term relationship is a good idea. At first, it was great, but I realized after a month, she isn't what I'm looking for. So essentially, I could summarize this entire video by saying that I need to take my time with an important decision. I think every investment is an important decision, and just by delaying the decision by a month made a huge difference to me. Actually, I did the same thing recently with a company called Judgement out of Japan. About 2 months ago, I was doing a lot of work on the company, was getting really excited, pretty much the same thing as Naked Wines. I got to the valuation and it was right on the price I wanted to pay with a huge margin of safety. It felt like a no-brainer. So I scheduled the decision for a month's time. A month went by, and when it was time to make the decision, the stock price was up just a little bit, but nothing dramatic. I still thought this was one of the best ideas I had found for a long time, besides probably Naspa's, Prosus, and Alibaba. Anyway, I thought this was my next best idea and still better than some ideas I had actually in my portfolio. So I did it. I bought into Judgement. Of course, the day after I bought it, it fell like another 5%, but that doesn't matter in the long term. I was really proud of myself for giving myself a month, letting the idea just run around in my brain, then come to a conclusion that was just far less emotional. Essentially, it is helping me fight one of my biggest weaknesses. So there you go, that's my little trick to make better decisions. Maybe you can relate to this, maybe this comes naturally to you and you don't need a little trick like this, but I hope it helps someone out there. Now quickly, a little more about Judgement. So you actually need a brokerage account that gives you access to Japanese stocks for this one. So Interactive Brokers is the one that I use. I highly recommend it. And the link is in the description if you want to try a demo account to see whether it will work for you. You really should have a safe, reliable brokerage account that gives you access to international markets so you can get access to things like Judgement. Also in the description, check out TIKR Terminal for the financial information about Judgement and for other international companies. Actually any company, but it's good that you can access all the international company data. Plus on TIKR is how I actually found that Norbert Liu has an investment in Naked Wines. Again, a link in the description for that one as well. And one final thing. I think this is kind of what Charlie Munger and Monish Prabrai have hinted at before when Charlie said that man's greatest weakness is his inability to sit in a room and do nothing. Now I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact words, and Monish Prabrai said that the best temperament for an investor is someone who enjoys watching paint dry. Again, I'm paraphrasing and butchering their words, but I think they are both suggesting that if we all just take some time to think, let the emotions wash over us and reassess later, then that will improve our decision making in the long term, especially for important decisions. Now I want to say a big thank you to Levi here on my channel. Thanks for your comments and support. I appreciate it a lot. You are a legend. Thanks for staying to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.